All right, so you decide you're going to hike the JMT, and you think you've got everything planned, but don't plan anything until you get your permit. The permits are especially hard to get right now. So I'm going to give you a rundown on how to get the permits. So I'm up here in the Sierra right now, and it's 2015, end of December, and we actually have some snow. So this year is going to probably be a shorter hiking season than we've had in the last few drought years. So that's going to make the permits possibly harder to get. So we're at normal right now, so it's not for sure, but we're expecting a La Nina or El Nino, and we're supposed to get a lot of moisture later in the season. So we'll see. So anyway, the shorter season is going to make it harder to get. Right now, the Park Service, National Park Service, is trying to go to a system to do a computerized system to get the permit, but it's too late in the year. I don't think they're happy with it, and they're not going to roll it out this year. So this is the last year you got to go with the old-fashioned process, which from what I've heard is anywhere from a 70 to 90% failure rate on getting your permits in advance. But if you keep trying, you'll get one. So I'm going to give you all the options. So first of all, I'll go through the old standard process. So don't book all your airfare and hotels until you get your permit. But don't be discouraged if you don't get your permit, because I'm going to give you some alternatives that will allow you to get on the trail even if you don't have a reservation, if you're nervous about traveling out here in case you can't get on the get the traditional permit. So here's the rules. You're going to go to this website first, the National Park Service website. They have everything you need to know. And you're going to navigate to the form, the permit form, and print one of those out. And also navigate to the calendar. It's going to tell you exactly 168 days out where you need to fax that permit process so they can process that permit to enter the lottery. You have to do it exactly 168 days in advance. You can't do it later because they fill up on a daily basis. So follow these instructions carefully. When you fill out the permit, they'll tell you that you can phone or use mail. Those don't have priority, so don't even bother with those. You can call them and ask them questions, but you're going to want to use the fax process. So they've actually made it a little more difficult to get permits, and just especially being spontaneous. So here's the rules. That permit that you're going to print out and fax has three options, your first, second, and third choices. Use all three to maximize your chances. And here's the options to get the reservation. The permits are free, by the way. It costs $5 to get a reservation. You're not charged, just per person, and you're not charged unless you get the reservation. So you're going to want to put one in every day until you get confirmed. They're really good about getting back to you the next day if you're selected, maybe a day or two if you're rejected. So don't wait for the rejection. Send another one in the day after. And then if you happen to get lucky and get both of them, cancel the one you don't need. So fill out your first, second, and third chances. The traditional starting point is Happy Isles, which is like Disneyland. There's 1 million people there, but that's the traditional start. It's also the Half Dome Trail and the Mist Trail, which are spectacular. So if you haven't done those, it's worth doing that. It's actually a brutal climb up to Tuolumne Meadows, and there's been a fire in that area, so I'm not that upset if I'd miss that section anyway. So what you want to do, there's 20 permits a day issued out of the traditional starting point of Happy Isles. They've actually lumped 4 trailheads into that 20 a day, and there's no walk-up permits at this particular area. So it's Happy Isles, and then your first night camping will either be Little Yosemite Valley, put in Happy Isles Pass-Through, which will take you to, you're going to want to put Sunrise Pass-Through, I think it's called. And from that, if you get that option, you just have to continue past the junction of the Half Dome Trail and Sunrise. So, and the other 2 options on that 20 a day reservable is Glacier Point, which used to be a traditional go around the process trail, but now that's part of the 20 a day. and the other one is the Sunrise Lakes Trailhead, which is actually it's not in the valley, so I'll go over that option real quick. Now when you fill out the permit, you need to fill in a box that says you're exiting over Donahue Pass. It'll scare you, but you're not going to want to check it because it says if you're rejected, if you can't get the 45 a day over the pass, you're rejected. But that's the JMT. You need to say yes, you're leaving over Donahue Pass. And the other one is if you want to do Half Dome. If you happen to get lucky enough to get Glacier Point or Happy Isles, there's a box to say yes, you want to do Half Dome. If you haven't done it, it's worth doing. So put your first, second, and third choices, and they'll get back to you the next day. It might take a week to get it. You might not get it. So I'm going to give you some other options in case those don't go through. The Sunrise Lakes Trailhead, although popular with a lot of backpackers too, that's a hard one to get to, even though it's probably a little easier than the Happy Isles. That gives you the advantage of starting from Tuolumne Meadows, right down the way from Tuolumne Meadows, about 15 miles down the road. And there's a good hiker bus that you can access Yosemite Valley and all of Tuolumne Meadows on Yarts, which is pretty good access, pretty good bus service. So that one gives you the added bonus to be able to do Cloud's Rest, which is really awesome. And then it connects with the John Muir Trail at Sunrise High Sierra Camp. And then you can still do Cathedral Lakes, then you come right back out to Tuolumne Meadows and continue on from there. The other option that does have some walkthroughs, they do 25 a day out of Tuolumne Meadows at the Wilderness Center there. There's a permit office there. And that from there, 15 are reservable in advance. And again, you check exiting over Donahue Pass. But it also leaves you the option of getting a chance for a walk-up. There's 10 a day. And on the walk-ups, it's a matter of getting in line. I've actually slept on that porch before. They don't get in a sleeping bag, just get in a chair and bundle up best you can. They don't really want you sleeping on their porches. Don't get your tent out or anything. And get first in line. If you're a small group, you're going to get it. If you're 2 or 3 people, if you're bigger than that, it might be in a little bit of competition. Now, the way the permit thing works is you're going to be lining up for those 10 for leaving the next day, and you're going to get on a waiting list. At 7, they'll open up. They'll put you on a waiting list, and then you got to wait till 11 o'clock. And the first thing that happens at 11 o'clock, the no-shows for the people that actually had permits, those will go to the people on the list first. So if you want to leave that day at 11 o'clock, you can get a permit to leave that day. And otherwise, you can get your walk-up permit and leave the next day. And it leaves you a couple days to hang out in a pretty nice place, either in Tuolumne Meadows, and you get to do a little acclimating, getting used to the altitude. I wouldn't recommend it, but in the valley, if you're dead set on starting at Happy Isles, you can hang out there until 11 and see if there's no-shows too. But that's pretty risky, especially if you don't have a car, and usually you don't have time to do that. So those are the 2 options to get on the trail the traditional way. So it's very competitive. Do it exactly 168 days in advance. Oh, and by the way, you can fax the calendar that they give you on the website, 168 days. You fax your form in the day before. You start at noon, and then you can do it from noon till 7:30 a.m. They start the lottery at 7:30 the next day. So look at the calendar, find out what day you're supposed to fax it. Fax it the day before from 12 o'clock on. Just fax one. They'll throw out extras if you put in a bunch. And that's the traditional way. So it's getting cold out here, so I'm going to give the rest of this from my warm living room on other alternatives. And there are a lot of other alternatives, so don't give up in case you get discouraged. And some of these are last minute, and they're stress-free, and they're good options. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Well, I feel like I'm getting ready to do a movie review. Tonight's feature, the tale of terror of people trying to get permits for the John Muir Trail. It's not that scary. Anyway, a lot warmer here. Comfortable 63 degrees in my living room, the way I like it. All right, I just watched what I just filmed, and I know the process, and it's still a little confusing. So to summarize, print the form, look at your calendar, pick your first three choices. I have seen people get confused about their first three choices, and they'll put like August 18th, August 19th, and August 20th. That's not what you do. Your top three choices to put on that permit form are your three trailheads. So to summarize the trailheads options from the valley, it's Happy Isles to Little Yosemite Valley, and Happy Isles pass through, the Sunrise Merced pass through, I think it's called. And the third option out of the valley is to start Glacier Point. And a note about Glacier Point, there is not good transportation up to Glacier Point. There is a daily tourist bus that goes up there. I think it's about $25, but the problem with it is I think it leaves at 12:30ish. So you're going to be up there kind of late, but it's a downhill hike to Little Yosemite Valley, and it is hikeable. And your other options are out of Tuolumne Meadows. And if you start at Tuolumne Meadows, of course, you're going to miss the first 22 miles or so of the trail. But like I said, you can just revisit the valley and do a lot of those a day hike. The southern section of the trail is spectacular, but the first, I would just go to the valley, hike to the top of Nevada Falls, and up the Mist Trail, and enjoy it as a day hike without lugging a pack up there. So your other options are at Tuolumne Meadows, and the advantage of doing Tuolumne Meadows is that you have the walk-up permit capability of 10 a day. So we went over that already. And your trailheads out of that area are Sunrise, which starts at Tenaya Lake, which can be flooded in the early season, by the way. You have to walk through a big puddle. I mean, it's big, where you're carrying your packs over your head. I've done it. It's cold. And or right at Lyle Canyon, which again is, you missed the first 22 miles of the trail. So those are your reservable options out of those two trailheads to do most of the traditional trail. But there are other better options. Now, one thing I didn't say earlier is don't be tempted to use the shoulder seasons, which are in less demand and easier to get a permit, which especially in the early season. In a normal year, I've been hiking in the Sierras my whole life, and normally the passes don't clear till end of July in a normal year. And this year, even though we're getting monsoonal rains, we're supposed to be getting monsoons, which are warmer, the passes are still going to be buried. In 2011, I was going over passes that were just covered in snow the last week of July. So that was a heavier than normal year. So if you get tempted to go out in June, you're going to have to you need to have the skills. Make sure you have the skills and capabilities of being out there at that time. You're going to have high river crossings, navigation problem, because the trails, a large majority of the trails are going to be buried. And also in the spring, you're going to be more worried about bugs and stuff like that too. But water crossings and navigations can be a bear. That was a joke for JMTers who know what I'm talking about. The Bear River crossing can be quite dicey early season. Same goes for late season. I actually prefer late season, but if you finish by the end of September, you're probably okay. Middle of September is a better time frame to aim for. It is less crowded after Labor Day. It's a good time to go, but you have to look into resupply options drying up. MTR will usually close about the third week of September. VVR, I think, is open a little longer, but that's a long haul to get to the end of the trail. You'd have to hike out Kearsarge Pass to resupply. So those are my words about if you get to the end of September, that's when you got to worry about some storms coming through. You have to have better gear because it's definitely going to be a lot colder at night, shorter days. So if you get the urge to go late in the year, you need to know what you're doing. You better bring good equipment, no cotton, and know how to be comfortable in 20-degree weather and possibly sit out a couple of small snowstorms. I would want, like I said, I'd want to finish by mid-September. And any later than that, you're risking some storms coming in. But it also can be a great time on the trail. River crossings are easy, and the crowds are down, and there's no bugs. So if this is your first time, you don't have a lot of experience, you want to probably aim for August, early August, maybe late July to early September, like the last week of August, something like that. and stay away from those other dangerous areas. So your other options, you want to have a permit. You're coming from overseas, out of state, or you got a large group. The process probably might not work for you, but you want to have some dates nailed down so you can actually come out here and not have to worry about getting on the trail. Here's what you do. You'll miss some of the trail, but there's ways to get on the trail, and I have another way where you can see the whole trail, and it's an easy permit and you can do the whole trail, so stay tuned for that. So first of all, you can come in on the Inyo National Forest, and I like to give access or references to the east side entrance points because of Highway 395 on the east side. The trailheads are high, which saves you a lot of climbing. And the transportation system's good for those of you that don't have cars that are coming on buses from out of state. There's the Eastern Sierra Transit Authority. It's called ESTA. They run up and down 395 once a day, and then they connect to the YART system. So those give you access to all the places along 395. So that's why I like to use the east side as access points. So if you want to get a reservation, you have to go to the internet to get reservations through Inyo National Forest. So what you're going to do, go to recreation.gov, and it's good. You'll get the search box. Type in Inyo National Forest, and then on the left you'll see a box pop up with a bunch of things, camping. One of them is permits. Click on permits, and then you'll get an option for wilderness permits. So click on wilderness permits, and up will pop all the trailheads on the east side of the Sierra. So then those will all get you into the John Muir Trail. Now the most northern one, a word about those permits. If you're coming in, so far I've only talked about hiking north to south, and we're going to do a south to north option at the end. So on the north to south options, when you come in on Inyo, you have to get what's called a trail crest exit permit. That's another quota problem that you're going to run into. But if you're starting far enough north, your window will be out far enough where you should be able to get that no problem. I've used those before. And so what you do, you look at all your trailheads and click on the one you want, and then it'll give you a bunch of options. And what you're going to pick, if you're coming from the north, you're going to pick, say for example, you're going to enter from Rush Creek. You would click Rush Creek, and then you would put exiting Mount Whitney, and that would get you the trail exit quota, a trail exit permit. So you have to do both of those. So don't do it unless you can get the exit permit. If you don't get the exit permit, you'll have to continue past Whitney and do another 2 additional days to come out of Horseshoe Meadows or Cottonwood Pass. So in case I forget, I'll go over this right now. If you're coming in from the south, from Horseshoe Meadows or Cottonwood Pass, you're going to choose the option Cottonwood Pass visiting Mount Whitney, which is a really easy one to get. The visiting one, not the exiting, because if you're coming up from the south, you're not going to be exiting. So trailheads from the east side. The farthest north one that you can get in from Inyo, a lot of people talk about this Mono Pass out of Tuolumne Meadows. It's not really a good option. You got a lot of climbing to do. You have to leave the park. I'm not even going to talk about that one. You can research that on your own if you want. I don't think it's the greatest option. You can actually enter very close to that coming in from Inyo, from what's called Rush Creek. Not a lot of people use that trail either. And the reason I like it is because Yarts gets on the June Lake Loop, and the Yarts bus goes there. So you can catch that bus and get access to that trailhead. It's not a particularly great trailhead because you climb up past a couple man-made reservoirs. I haven't done it. I've looked down on those from the Island Pass area, which is an area I really like. And what this trail does, it gets you on the JMT right on the other side of Donahue Pass. So you from there on, you just go all the way to Whitney. So you're going to miss the first 35 miles of the trail, but you're still going to enjoy most of the trail. So that's a pretty good option, and that gets you on Donahue, Island Pass, gorgeous areas, one of the prettiest areas of the JMT. Kind of crowded though. You'll see Thousand Island Lake and Garnet Lake, a couple of my favorite spots on the GMT. Garnet especially I really like. The next area that's really popular, which is a really good point to enter. By the way, these all have walk-up options as well. So, but for you people out of state, you're going to want to get these because you can reserve them. That way you don't have to worry about anything. The other option is come into the Reds Meadow area out of Mammoth. And again, they have a bus. Mammoth has a great bus system that once you're in Mammoth, Yarts and ESTA both serve Mammoth. And Mammoth itself has a bus system that's free that you can get up to the the entrance into Reds Meadow, which is up at Mammoth Mountain. There's a place called Mammoth Lakes Inn where the shuttle system, you have to pay an additional, it was $7, but I haven't taken it for a while. I think it might be a little more, maybe 9 or 10. There's a mandatory bus that takes you down into the valley to get to Reds Meadow and Agnew Meadows, which is the next trailhead I want to talk about. And the other advantage of doing that, you can pick up your permit right there in Mammoth, take the buses up there, and be good to go. So, Agnew Meadows. The only reason I would take the Agnew Meadows over Reds Meadow is because you're dead set on seeing Thousand Island Lake and Garnet. After Garnet and the Adiza Junction and Shadow Lake, it's kind of a trudge down to Reds Meadow. And the first 13 miles out of Reds Meadow, to me, is the least scenic. It's still spectacular, but it's the least scenic area of the JMT. So it's up to you whether you want to do that extra mileage. Agnew Meadows, what you want to do, get the Agnew Meadows trailhead permit, and it's on the Reds Meadow Devil's Postpile. It's really what's called the Devil's Postpile shuttle. There's a bus stop there, and you walk right to the trailhead. So it's convenient for that. And you take what's called I think it's called the High Trail. It's 6 miles up to it'll dump you right up to Thousand Island Lake. And that's why Thousand Island Lake is so crowded, because it's absolutely spectacular and gorgeous. But it's only 6 miles in it's a 6 mile hike in, so day hikers will be there. Camping is a little bit crowded. I prefer to go in to Garnet Lake and camp. So you could that's about a 9.5 mile hike to do that on day one. And then you hike down into Reds Meadow and continue on the JMT from there. And then that gives you the advantage of like a 2 to 3 day hike. You can eat like a king and then resupply at Reds Meadow. So the other option is just to start at Reds Meadow Devil's Postpile. And you can rent a cabin there and get ready for your taking off from there. Reds Meadow has a store. They have a hiker barrel. And that permit is actually pretty popular because a lot of people, now especially with the Donahue, 45-a-day Donahue quota process, a lot of people are going there. And people are doing this. I'll throw this out there. I wouldn't do it because part of the experience to me is being on the trail the whole time. I don't like to leave the trail at all. I don't supply it VVR because it seems like it's leaving the trail to me. I resupply it MTR. People are there's no quota going north over Donahue Pass. So what a lot of people are doing, they'll go to Reds Meadow, get the permit from Reds Meadow to Happy Isles, hike the first leg back to Happy Isles, take the Arts bus back to Mammoth, and then get another permit to hike from Reds Meadow down to Whitney. So that's one of the options to do the whole trail and have a reservation in advance. It would be hard to gauge when you got back to get that second reservation, so that's going to put some pressure on you to stay on track, but you can do it. Or else you can do, all the Inyo National Forest have walk-up permits, so you can always get a walk-up permit. Now, if you're in a larger group, these are probably better options to start from these trailheads, because it's going to be easier to get walk-up permits for a larger group, and almost impossible with the traditional Yosemite National Park trailheads. So next trails, let's see, you can also access, if you want to skip that trudge up to Purple Lake, you can start another trail outside of Mammoth. I think it's Duck Creek Pass. It'll dump you out on the trail up around Purple Lake, and then you can go from there too. That's another good option. If you don't have time to do the whole trail, there's lots of trailheads all up and down 395. Buses don't go to them. I've personally hitchhiked up to Onion Valley, up to the Portal and up to Horseshoe Meadows and North Lake. And a couple of them I stood there for an hour and a half. The Whitney Portal area at the end of the JMT is really easy to ride. I mean, immediately you'll get picked up. Some of those other ones, it's a little tougher. So there are shuttles that you can hire that operate out of the Lone Pine area. So look into that. As far as picking up your permits, they require you to go in person to pick up your permits. And by the way, it's 168 days in advance on the Yosemite. For Inyo, it's 6 months in advance you can get your permits. And they don't all immediately fill up 6 months in advance, but it's best to get close to that to get your permit. All right, quick word about ranger stations. Yosemite ranger stations for your permits, you have to pick them up in person. There's no after hours process like some of the national forests have. That gives them a chance to yell at you, educate you, on all the rules, and they're going to give you your poop bag too. So you have to be there by 10 a.m. the day of your trip. If you don't make it by 10 a.m., your permit's given to somebody else. So you have to. That's why I would always recommend anybody, especially coming from far away, that's relying on buses, plan on picking your permit up 1 day in advance. You can only pick it up 1 day in advance too. So try to get the day before. And same thing goes for the Inyo ranger stations. They want you there by 10 a.m. And I believe they might have an after hours pickup process, but and they also all do walk-ups. So that gives you an option to do walk-ups if you're not planning this far enough in advance and can't get a reservation. So I've actually never had a reservation through the Inyo ranger stations. But I have got up at 3 in the morning to drive to some of the ranger stations when they open, just to make sure I get my permit. So anyway, the ranger stations, there's one in Mona Lake, which is next to Lee Vining, which is serviced by Yards and ESTA. There is one in Mammoth, which is right across from an RV park, which will let you camp there. It's not great, but at least it gives you a spot to sleep for cheap, and you can pick up your permit there and then take your buses to wherever you're heading from there. That'll get you to Rush Creek in Reds Meadow area, Amy Meadows. And then there's another one in Bishop, which is where the trailheads for North and South Lake are. And then the last one it's the big main ranger station, which is where all the Whitney day hikers go to, is in Lone Pine. It's actually a really cool ranger station. They have exhibits there, but that's your other choice of picking up a permit. I didn't mention this is an option, but I would never start the JMT from the south end by coming up the main Mount Whitney Trail out of the Portal. That would be a brutal first day, and you're not going to get that permit anyway, because that's another lottery system that all the day hikers are in competition for. That is a very difficult one too. So I wouldn't go that way. So anyway, those are your main access points to get most of the trail through the recreation.gov Inyo National Forest. If you were dead set on coming in from the west side, the real only access point to the west side is either coming in through VVR, Vermilion Valley Resort, and that's a long drive out of Fresno. I believe Yards is actually serving that now for the first time this coming summer, but I'm not positive about that, so you have to look into that. But if you started from the VVR area, you could come in through Mono Creek, Bear Ridge, or the Bear Diversion Dam. Those are the three trailheads. And that'll get you about 120, 130 miles of the trail. And it is the most spectacular section, the southern section. And you'll still get to do evolution in Muir. The other option from the west is Florence Lake. And from there, it's an 8-mile hike into MTR and about a 9 or 10 mile hike to hit the JMT. And the beauty, these are through the Sierra National Forest. The beauty of this side, the only good thing about coming in from this side, because you're going to miss a lot of the trail and the transportation's a little more difficult, is you can reserve these permits 1 year in advance. So you can get that worry out of the way. So, okay, anyway, now I'm going to get save the best for last. If you want a permit for the whole trail, you're watching this video and you haven't planned ahead, I'm terrible at planning. I think the JMT permit's the only one I've ever reserved in advance. I've always been a walk-up guy, but today the crowds, you just have to do it this way. Here's the way to do it where you're going to get a permit without a lot of lead time, and you're going to be able to do the whole trail. You need a little extra time though, and you need to be in a little bit better shape. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a northbound. You're going to do south to north. Oh, I forgot, there is a couple other trailheads out of Kings Canyon, Sequoia Kings Canyon. You can get in through Bubbs Creek and Woods Creek. But you're going to miss a large portion of the trail if you come in that way. That's more of a section hike. Okay, and if you come into Sequoia National Park, but they actually automatically give you a Whitney exit permit, I believe. Same with Sierra National Forest, but verify that, please. All right, so you're coming in, you want to do the whole trail, you haven't planned ahead. What you want to do, this is still through recreation.gov. You're going to start south of Whitney Portal, and you're going to start at the Cottonwood Pass, Horseshoe Meadows trailheads. And this year, in 2016, they're going to be redoing the road on the Whitney Portal Road. That's an old road. And if you've ever seen the movie, Google this, it's hilarious. The Long Trailer with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. They're taking this giant trailer that's filmed on the Whitney Portal Road, and it's funny. And the road still looks like that, so it's in bad need of repair, but it's going to be compromised on hitchhiking opportunities, because I think it's going to be local traffic only, and only people like with reservations up there. So there won't be as much traffic. So you might have to look into a shuttle service to get you to these trailheads. And I actually rode my bike down that from Whitney Portal into Lone Pine one time, and my tire exploded because I was using my brakes too much and it got too hot. So just random story. Okay, so what you're going to do to get to the Cottonwood Pass, Horseshoe Meadows trailhead, it's on the same road at Whitney Portal. It's Whitney Portal Road, but it forks off to the left about 5 miles in around the Alabama hills. So I have hitchhiked it. It took a while, but in town, if you're staying in town, you'll probably run into a lot of people that are doing the trail. It's easy to find people doing the trail. The ones that have just finished are all walking funny. They're all in pain, but they're happy. So get to the trailhead, and the beauty of this trailhead is that you can camp a night. You want to camp a night at the trail, so you're going to pick up your permit in town at the visitor center in Lone Pine. It's on the south side of town. It's just like right outside of town, past the Best Western. So I like to stay at the Dow Villa, by the way. You can park a car there indefinitely for weeks, and it's safe there. And it's a relatively cheap place to stay. It's got a good vibe. I really like it there. And there's a hostel in town too, the Whitney Portal Hostel. I think they're $20 a night. So you can make contacts with people there, maybe share a ride, share a shuttle, share the cost, and that helps. I've actually given rides up to trailheads. People that you meet on the trail, you hit them up too, and you can get rides from people. So this trail that has a campground at 10,000 feet, so it gives you a chance to acclimate. So you got to pick up your permit a day in advance so you can spend a night up there. So once you get your permit, head up there, and it's a relatively easy permit. It's still popular, so I'm not saying you can't just show up, but you could get walk-ups pretty readily. But in the main season in August, it's still, you want to plan at least a few weeks in advance. So there's 2 trailhead choices to get there, and what this does, it puts you about 25 miles past the Whitney Trail at Crabtree Meadows when you come up the backside. So you're starting a little farther south, and it's pretty spectacular though. If you're a stud, or you like a lot of pain, after one day of camping at the trailhead, you can come in through the New Army Pass Trail, which is a lot more scenic in my opinion, but it's a lot harder. That one leads from Horseshoe Meadows. The campgrounds, they're like a quarter mile apart. There's 2 campgrounds right there, and you can walk between them. The Cottonwood Pass one is easier, and that's one most people would be taking if they're doing Whitney. And what you do after spending the night there, by the way, the campgrounds do fill up a lot. There's only a one-night stay. I've never seen anybody patrolling it. It's almost like a backpacker's camp. And when it's full, you just kind of pitch your tent wherever. But be polite about it. Ask some people if they mind you pitch a tent here. And what I've done in the past is I'll wander over to the day use picnic area. Nobody goes there. And I'll cook and hang out there. And in the morning, I'll gather all my gear up over there. Then I'll just wander over to my tent in the crowded area and just sleep there. So that's a good option. So if you're going to go, the easiest way to get up to the JMT and do the whole trail is choose one of those trailheads. Cottonwood Pass is the easiest one. And again, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to choose Cottonwood Pass on the recreation.gov. And you're going to, on this one, you're going to choose visiting Mount Whitney. Those ones don't fill up, like the exiting ones when you're coming from the north. So Cottonwood Pass, very easy, kind of dusty, a lot of horses go over it. And you have two options. If the problem with coming in from the south is you're going to be at high altitude immediately. You're going to be well over 10,000 feet for the majority of the time for the first couple weeks of your hike. So you have to be in good shape, and you have to be aware of putting in high mileage days because you are at higher altitude. So if you want to take it easy the first day, come in over Cottonwood, stay at Chicken Springs Lake. That's about 4.5 miles in, piece of cake. I would recommend going all the way, it's all downhill from there, go all the way to Rock Creek. And there's no water between Rock Creek and Chicken Springs Lake. It's about 5.5 miles, so make sure you're full there. And what's cool about that trail, you're going to see a forest that is really unusual in the Sierra. It's the only grove of foxtail pines that are on the east side of the Sierra, anywhere along the whole west coast, actually. And it's a spectacular forest of trees you're not going to usually see anywhere else. You'll see those around the Whitney area too, on the east side of Whitney. And so those are kind of spectacular to hike through. Then you camp one night at Rock Creek, and then from there you hike all the way to Crabtree Meadows, that's where you're going to meet with the John Muir Trail. So when you get to that area, you're going to have to decide whether you want to camp at Crabtree or camp up at Guitar. I would suggest just staying at Crabtree. It's comfy. There's actually a little vault toilet there if you look around hard enough. There's a ranger station there, and it's mellow. And what you do, whether you're going to Crabtree or Guitar Lake, on your summit day to do the official start of the JMT, which obviously starts at the top of Mount Whitney, you get up early from your tent. You don't have to pack up anything, which makes it nice. And then you're going to day hike to the summit of Mount Whitney. So from Crabtree, we were talking about 12-mile, 14-mile round trip. And from Guitar, you're talking about an 8 to 10 mile round trip. So with a day pack, it's going to be a lot easier. So it's still a difficult hike, but the beauty of it is your tent's going to be ready for you. You're just going to be able to just crash when you get back. And from there on, you're on the JMT. And then you continue your hike, and you're good. So hope those tips help. And if you have any questions, leave comments, and I'll check them. And have a good trip. And thank you. Thanks for watching.